Okay, may we all rise for our national anthem. Maybe before we are going to call upon Mr. Stephanus Kudumo to come open our gathering with a prayer. Mr. Kudumo, can you make your way to the podium?
Pandu, mugende silika. Tanika rugana tupwe kandero meraka leo undambo. Kuninkira imwe kuvuro yulipoka oke. Kapinena kara ne reso. Niena suguara menda perezina skwafa. Tukandereni. Karunga ka Isaka, karunga ka Abraham, karunga ka Yakobo. Mongurangurezi. Tunawiza. Ipasi tuyali nungure poro inka imwe yavuru moneka pangesi. Kompatate, apatu karose, tatu kundindire otu kwafe, tu unyonge ndaka zimwe tupu. Ipasi, ne iwa wana turongili kidre, ne ina tuvura katura po, ikalize pwa na mangoga. Pangesi mosuruwesi, tatu kundire nyasi, magano dona, gatunde magano getu, nyetu kare ne gano limwe tupu. Liokutunga surongosa Namibia. Eita ni undire mompa gwetu Yesu Kristo. Amen.
Okay, we may be seated. Thank you. driving since I'm tall and the other speakers, but it's okay. Well, this morning we are gathered here for our National Upstream Petroleum Local Content Policy in the Kavango West in the town of Nkurenkuru. Before we are going to start with the program, allow me to observe the dignitaries that are before us. The Honorable Vernas Nimbo, Governor of Kavango West. Can we give her a round of applause? All regional councillors in absentia, Your Worship, Japhet Muti, the Mayor of Nkurenkuru, Julia Sakwaneo, Police Commander for Kavango West, Chairperson of Local Authority Council, and all local authority councillors present, Ms. Maggie Shino, the Petroleum Commissioner and Head of the Delegation, all traditional leaders from the Ukwangali, Mbunza, Sambio Traditional Authority, and all traditional authority councillors present, Chief Regional Officer, Mr. Matthew Singambwe, all Chief Executive Officers and Acting CEO, all head of offices, ministries and agencies, institution of high learning, members, esteemed members of communities, and captain of industry, representative of civil society, the youth of Nkurenkuru, and community member and the media, I welcome you all to this engagement. So, for us to begin, I'm going to call upon His Worship, the Mayor of Nkurenkuru, to Mr. Japhet Muti, sorry, not Mweti, but Muti, to come give us the welcoming remark. Mr. Muti.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremony. Honorable Verna Snimbo, Governor of Kavango West Region. Honorable Local Authority Councillors present here. Mr. Singambwe Matthew, Chief Regional Officer of Kavango West Region, Commissioner Maggie Shino, Petroleum Commissioner, Mr. Oswald Sihova, Acting CEO of Nkurenkuru Town, the youth who are present here, when we used to be outside, there are a lot of people who are active on social media. But I cannot see them here. But I believe the information, they receive the information. Now, if you want to change, and this is the policy, and you are not here, so we'll wait for Honorable Governor. Let me stand on the yearly protocol established. Nampilingoso nikapandure tupu bakuru na betu abali tura momo kuizako igongi kara Nkurenkuru to adiawe ni asa bakondi kwa hara igongi ngwende otate veyo twampandura kwemwa wiza nyone nongundi wokuga magano makaramomu pilingo mtu akarose vadinkantu twasesu. Director of Ceremony. All participants who are present here, I observe the protocol as yearly established. Good morning. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you to this pivotal public consultation on the National Upstream Petroleum Local Content Policy. Today marks a significant step in shaping a future where Namibians' oil and gas sectors become a true engine of inclusive growth, local empowerment, and national pride. Director of Ceremony, Honorable Governor, this policy is not just a document. It is a commitment to ensure the Namibians are not only spectators, but active participants and beneficiaries in development of our petroleum resource. Through skill development, local business inclusions, and strategy partnership, we aim to build a resilient and prosperous energy sector that reflects the talent and potential of our people. Your presence here today signals a shared vision. It shows that together, the government, industries, civil society, and communities, we are ready to collaborate, listen, and shape a policy that speaks to our collective aspiration. Let us engage openly, think boldly, and work constructively. The insight you share today will help refine the framework that will guide Namibian upstream petroleum journey for generations to come. Finally, let me welcome you to this engagement and feel welcome. I thank you.
I think the mayor deserves another round of applause. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. We indeed feel welcomed. Since we are running behind time with our program, I even ended up forgetting introducing myself as your master of ceremony. Well, my name is Petrus Robert, also an inhabitant of the Kavango region. So, today we are going to talk about the National Upstream Petroleum Local Content Policy. In its draft format, our main purpose here is to present the local content policy and also seek for the input or contribution from the community of Kavango West and Nkurenkuru town this morning. So, as we are going to proceed with our program, I'm going to call upon our Honorable Vernas Nimbo, Governor of Kavango West, to come deliver her statement. Honorable Governor.
Thank you. Please. Tuingire ntupu. Thank you. Director of Proceedings, Mr. Robert. Your Worship, Japheth Muti, the Mayor, to the regional leadership, especially the regional councillors, who opted to go for the wellness program, to choose sports above this consultation. Our CRO is here. Please take note that I think if as regional leaders don't prioritize correctly, we are going to defeat this government good initiative to give their input. Gone are the days that we are nowhere when these type of meetings are called and then we come later to complain, to say, but it's not how it was supposed to be. This is the reason why these consultations are done, for us to give our inputs as a region. But getting people here as if you are begging for them to come. We need to own our own developments, my dear people. Nobody will take us serious if we don't take ourselves serious. Development is something that must come from us, not from any other person. We need your input because we value you. The government value you. That is why these consultations are done. So we need really to set our priorities correctly. I call upon business communities, entrepreneurs, and all residents of Kavango West to take full ownership of this policy. This is not a policy for just outsiders, but for you, the men and women who have built businesses here, who understands the need of our people, and who knows the strength of our communities. It is through your direct involvement that we can shape a framework that unlocks opportunities for local enterprises and enables you to deliver the goods and services demanded by the oil and gas sector. This engagement is not just another meeting. It is a bridge that connects the immense opportunities within the industry to the pathways that will ensure Namibians, especially those in Kavango West, benefits meaningfully. And I mean benefits meaningfully. Government remains unwavering in its commitment to developing a local content policy that serves all Namibians, pardon me. The oil and gas industry holds great promise, but it is our collective responsibility to ensure that this promise is harnessed for the benefit of our people and not squandered. By prioritizing local participation and strengthening capacity, we can transform the resource beneath our soil into a true blessing for present and future generations. I thank you for your attendance. Thank you for you who have come. I saw you Tateveyo, Pando, Emasigi Nkaeni Nainye, Mowize. Kwakumona, kwakuzuisa ngero hafo, ngowakurona kumona, mudio simpe, gokugawa magano geni. Thank you so much, Commissioner, and your delegation for having this consultative meeting here in Kavango West Region. With these few words, I warmly welcome you all. And this is your meeting, like I said in the beginning. Feel free to share your inputs. Once again, you are all welcome, and I thank you.
So, can we give the Honorable Governor another round of applause? Thank you very much. As I have indicated that I am from the Kavango region, specifically Kavango East. So, in the earlier profession of the Honorable Governor, I also happen to be one of her former learners at Dr. Senior Romanes Kampungu. So, the delegation which is before you today is from Petroleum Upstream Unit, Office of the President, and I'm also a senior petroleum geoscientist under that unit. And for today. So next up on our program, we are going to call on the Petroleum Commissioner, who is also the head of our delegation, to come give the address for this morning. Ms. Sheila.
Thank you very much, Director of Proceedings. It's not a very usual time where you see a teacher and a learner leading both from different directions. Can we give them a round of applause? For me, this is a clear indication of what we do on the ground translates into bigger things. Simply because of Honorable Governor's teaching, we have a petroleum geoscientist in the country who is responsible for making the discoveries that are making us sit here today. So the contribution that comes from the ground, the work that is done on the ground, is what shapes our future. And this is evident today. Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable. Directors of Proceeding, above all, the community of Nkurenkuru, allow me an opportunity to acknowledge the dignitaries before me. First and foremost, the Honorable Venus Nimbo, the Governor of the mighty Kavango West Region, Your Worship, the Mayor, Mr. Japhet Muti, Mayor of the beautiful town of Nkurenkuru. Allow me also to honor the presence of the police commander for Kavango West, Meme Julia Sakwaneo, and your delegation. I would like to honor the presence of the chairpersons of the local authority councils and all local authority councils representatives who are here amongst us. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of the representative or themselves of the traditional leaders, whether from Ukwangali, from Bunza, or from the Sambu Traditional Authority, and any traditional authority councillors that are amidst us today. Let me also welcome the Chief Regional Officer present, Mr. Matthew Singambwe, who is amongst us, and all Chief Executive Officers of various offices and CEOs of our towns and villages, the heads or members of my mission, of our delegation, the institution of higher education present here, the youth of Nkurenkuru and of Kavango West community, community members at large, members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of the oil companies, and captains of the industries that are amongst us, ladies and gentlemen, Morokeni, thank you very much. I'm truly honored to stand here before you today, not only to speak, but also to listen and to learn and to work with you this important journey that we have embarked on together as a nation. Namibia has entered a new chapter in its history. After many years of exploration, significant oil discoveries have been made off our shores, and a lot of work is also yielding promising results on our shore. And these discoveries are discoveries that carry the potential to transform our economy and open new opportunities for our people. But let us be clear. Oil itself and the production of oil can bring jobs, can reduce poverty, can deliver prosperity, but it's not done automatically. It does not happen on its own. It is only through careful planning, fair policies, and putting Namibians first that these discoveries can become a blessing to our nation. The agenda for today is for us to ensure, therefore, that these discoveries are indeed a blessing for our nation. That is why we are here today, to engage with you on the local content policy. This policy, approved by Cabinet and now placed before you for your input, is our national framework that will ensure that our people, our businesses, and our communities benefit directly from Namibians' petroleum resources. The question that usually arises, and I've seen even when we're coming into this room, people are asking, what is local content policy? What is local content? In simple terms, allow me to explain that a local content policy is a policy that ensures that no Namibian is left behind. Further than just making sure that all Namibians are pulling together within the development of the oil and gas industry, the local content policy is a tool for government to make its commitment to the people. Through the local content policy, the Namibian government is hereby making a commitment that the oil companies must and will employ Namibians. The Namibian government is making a commitment that the oil company and the license holders will train and develop our young people. It's a commitment that for all work that is being done, the license holders and the operators will source goods and services from Namibian businesses. Furthermore, it's a commitment from our government that the license holders and the operators and the project managers, they will transfer knowledge and technology to our people. But finally, last but not least, it's a commitment from the Namibian government that Namibians must have an equitable participation in all phases of the industry. It is about ensuring that the wealth from the oil flows not only to the subsurface, from the subsurface, but it flows into our homes. It must flow into our school. It must flow into our clinics. It must flow into our communities. And that is where it matters most. How do we do this? And why is this important? Allow me to give you a practical example of why is this important. If a company needs 100 workers, as many of those jobs as possible should go to Namibians, especially the young people, the women, and those that are coming from previously and current disadvantaged backgrounds. If a company is requiring catering services, transport, accommodation services, all these services must be sourced locally, creating business opportunities in our towns and in our regions. If a specialized training is needed, it is our children who should receive the bursaries and the scholarships to prepare them for the future careers in these industries. This is not just about jobs. It's about building a future where Namibians own, where Namibians manage, and where Namibians are prospering from the oil and gas industry as we have it today. How are we going to achieve this? The policy has set clear rules and targets. The oil companies will be monitored, they will be required to report on progress, and they will be held accountable for where they have failed to deliver. The government will ensure that there is strict enforcement so that the promises that are being made and the commitment that are within that policy are translating into real benefits that the people are going to feel and touch. We know too well from other countries that oil, if it's not managed well, it can become a missed opportunity where benefits are only captured by a few, where corruption thrives, and where communities are left behind. Namibia is determined to follow a different path, to learn from the mistakes of others. And this is a promise, and this is what the policy has anchored to ensure that Namibia follows a different path. The local content policy is our safeguard. It is our tool to fight poverty. It is our tool to build the skills. And it is our tool to build the businesses and also to ensure that Namibians have a fair chance to benefit. Let us all reject the practices of fronting. If they cannot use our name in the boardrooms and as decision makers, our names should not appear on the papers of their company registrations. Let us stand up and know our rights, where locals should not be used as mere tokens without true empowerment. Instead, let us embrace a genuine participation, a participation that uplifts our people, a participation that develops our community, and a participation that strengthens and builds the Namibian economy. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Kavango West Region, together we will rise. Fellow Namibians, this is our moment. This is our opportunity to ensure that the black gold that is discovered within our waters transform into the real gold that every Namibian household will be able to see. Let us build strong partnership, not only with the investors, but also with each other. Let's make sure that the chain of cooperation that we are building should be strong enough to pull us through and stand against any forces that are going to come saying that the Namibian people do not have capacity, or those that will come and say the Namibian people do not have capability. Let us support our youth. Let us renew us. And let us hold ourselves accountable to the highest standard of transparency and fairness. But most importantly, let's seek the knowledge that the industry requires so that we can serve it to the best of the standards that are required and within our capability that we have built as a strong nation. This consultation is your platform. It's not for us as government officials to come and speak. Your voice, your idea, and your concerns will shape the final local content policy. Together, let us make it a tool to reflect the aspiration of the Namibian people. While I call upon collaborative engagement and a true vision of all of us seeing ourselves into this policy, let me also thank you just for your mere presence and being here. Your participation and your commitment is a clear indication that we are ready to build this future for ourselves, but not only for ourselves, for our children and the generations that are coming. I thank you very much for your attendance and your participation, and look forward to the valuable inputs that we will receive from you today throughout this engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shino, the Petroleum Commissioner and Head of the Delegation, for that very enlightening remarks as what the local content policy is all about. So now we are going to call upon Mr. Mbundu Johannes to come give us a presentation on the overview of the Namibian petroleum industry. Since we are talking of the oil and gas industry or petroleum industry, he's going to take us on a journey as where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are headed. Mr. Mbundu Johannes, the floor is yours.
Morokeni, good morning, or good afternoon, still morning, good morning. Dear Asi Morokeni, so my name is Johannes Mbundu. Okay, thank you. Good morning once again. Dear Morokeni, my name is Johannes Mbundu. I'm a petroleum engineer working for NAMCO, and I'll be talking about technical stuff. But I will make it simple and easier for us to understand, and I'll be switching between English and Rukwangali in order for us to capture at least the concept. And I know that my Rukwangali is not good, but I will try my level best. And again, I'm the former learner of our governor here. Okay, right. Today we'll be looking at two sections. The first one is the overview of petroleum industry. What is this petroleum industry all about, and how do we find oil, and how does it impact our lives? Nena statukatara maruhaga wali sokowa kwa karasi ikwa maholi na nini kemsinke tani ngape mwaga atuga papara tani ngape mwaga chinji serongo ndi maparugo wantu. The second section will be Namibian current status of the gas story, where we are, what it means for us as Namibians. What is oil and gas industry? Simple explanation is very easy to understand. It's all about the industry which searches for oil. If they found it, extract it, process it, refine it, and give it to the nation to be used. So there are three stages. Oil, searching, which means drilling. The second stage is midstream, which means that now we found the oil, we extracted the oil on the surface, now we need to move it to the refineries. And ships, which we call tankers or pipelines. And then the last one is downstream. In downstream is where we refine the hydrocarbon into useful products and also into the fuel which we see on our filling station. So to give you a practical example, so when we go to our filling station to fill our vehicles, and that is downstream. And when we go, let me say, valves, and we see those tankers or we see the pipelines which are transporting crude oil or oil, then that is midstream. And upstream is like the activity which Recon Africa is doing, that is upstream. Searching, drilling, and if they found it, and then they produce. So I see in Kenya the industry of tumbrasi asi ikwa maholi is industry of tumbrasi ikwa maholi ayoko kwa teremanya si kupapara maholi anosene gwana tatu mborora tatu kapakesamo tani nokuga chinjanye ipo gakariasi gatupe mulio oseko bantu asi kwa karanye nonkondo ntatu kondo azime kwa karasi ezitwa kutumbrasi upstream aza kwa karasi kupapara nokusima ndi kumborora makero tani nokupomba gena maholi gawize pontunda zevu mora ago maholi kwa kara kohi kwina zevu ozo ezitwa kutumbranya si upstream gwendi irugana wakurugana kwetu Recon Africa oyo kwa kara nyingwenda si upstream ano midstream azo kwa karanya si twakagwana twamborora ikero yetu maholi gasi kipontunda wakona kugatwaranye okona fabrika okuna wavura kugachi na maholi gena twagwana ipo gakatupe itundwa moyo wandi ipo gakatupe kango na paparashi vagaga wapaike ipo gaturetere maua ya maholi vagaga wapaike ipo vagaretere maua ozinazo twa kutumburanya midstream ano downstream okuinanyi avaga wapaike maholi iponya vaga chinje gatupenye ngwendi ninki etwa kumona ngwendi plastika ndiwale no diesel twa kumona pono na filling station ndino petrol ozo izo twa kutumburanya downstream ano ininke na nyei itatu walikuwa takana nokuvura situ hangure posi ninge simwe announcement pasi ninge simwe twase hangurapo kuvuranye hii te ininke yivali sena stantanya si wale kwa karano udigu wa midstream upstream tani downstream kuvura tu imonyasi oyo ninke kapia wa pereremo. So how oil and gas is formed? So oil and gas is formed from tiny plants or flowers, which we call pollens, and sea lives, which died million years ago and buried underneath the ground. And because of this burial, so what happened is pressure and temperature start to increase, and these tiny animals or tiny plants will be changed into crude oil. So this crude oil is in the source rock. So, and the crude oil will start now to migrate into what we call reservoir. So you can see here's where we can find those tiny animals or plants which were buried and then converted into crude oil. This is what we call the source rock. And from there, if it's converted into crude oil, it will start to migrate into our reservoir. And this reservoir have some specific characteristics. So, which means that the reservoir must have some space in order for our crude oil to live there. The crude oil will not be able to be captured in the reservoir. And also, the reservoir must have it's almost like the ceiling, right? So, to prevent the crude oil coming out of this structure. And the whole structure, reservoir seal, we call it the trap. If we drill and we found hydrocarbon, that's what we call hydrocarbon accumulation, right? The source rock is our kitchen. So, because why do we call it our kitchen? Because there's pressure and temperature happening there. Pressure and temperature, this is the one which help the tiny animals and plants to be cooked and turned into hydrocarbon, right? And the reservoir is, we can compare it to as a sponge or a normal mattress from the normal shops, a normal mattress, right? If you pour water on the normal mattress, you realize that the water will not come out until when you pour enough water on the mattress. Why? Because the mattress has the capability of holding water, and those are the pore space. So without those pore space, the mattress will not hold the water. So in that vein, think of the mattress as the hard rock. So this hard rock contains also the pore space, and this pore space is the one which allows the hydrocarbon to be captured and then the other one is the seal. The seal is almost like this ceiling here, which we see here, or the lid when we are cooking. Cover the pot with that's the seal. The purpose of the lid is to increase the pressure inside the pot so that the food which is in the pot to be cooked faster. So this is the seal. And the container itself, or the pot, this is what we call the trap. So, morukwangali, asi ngapi chomwa tukagwana nyaga maholi. Nare mamiliona ganare kakapita. Asi pakere nye imbumburgona, tanino imeno, ndino mbia. Makuro dunombia, kura kwa mbikire. Makura mwina makudivumbika dina nombia. Gupiu, tani ano kudideka. Mora kwa kudivumbika, ano evu kwa kudigwedera, ngwendi kwa kudideka nyendina nombia. Makura panadideka dina nombia, no upiu, makura tadipi, ano apanadipia tadidupenye. Gina tuwa kutumburasi ikuwa maholi. Ikuwa maholi kuvurazi kare hasi, ndi wale kuvuraka kare maholi. So, makura nasinetupu ya pi, makura no kuvurasi kare nye omtuwa kutumburasi mosi kombisa, yeah, kombisa. Sosok mo kombisa ndi asi mo kitchen. Nokuvura sikare monya si mo kombisa. Ayota izinye izenye mtu akutumbura se mo reservoir. Imonye mo mona ikakaranye. Tumpe ngwendi example kwa karasi tantenya si ovewale no nzugo zoge kwa kara no maruha. Ruharu me kutumbura si kombisa, ruharu kutumburasi ngano imo dining room ndi imwatulire. Ano mokombisa marasinga tumbire maskombisa mara imo makara esuga hipat tereke. Ano mokuninga tutereke twakona kuhepa mdiro ndi upyo. So tatura nyama zetu mokaiga, tatu tenteke pesuga, tatu tuedarine suga, makora tatu busaro swiko, tatu kudumi kekena kaiga ketu. Makura wina upyu tani neitwa kudumi kamora gwendi asi wina upyo wina wakara mokaiga ipo wapwaga. Kovara tutereke nyama zetu nokaiga kwa kakudumuka. Nye nyama zetu nazitugusa siruo ipo zipie. Anose na tukudumika kena kaiga ketu awe nyama zetu kuvra zipie usimbu. Gwendi moskwao. Can you go back? Go back. Gwendi moskwao, go back. Gwendi moskwao akaiko ninke kombisa zetu ano omu imonya atulire. Makura omokutere kanondia detu tadire tanye mwina utumurasi mo dining hall. Mara mwina imu makara nye ipundi no itafurahi monatu vura kuhingira makura tu jobane nondia detu. Ano dining hall zetu yazikara momtini. Da ndi mondunda ndi kwa kudumika. Azo kwa kara no ipeki aneseta wajingwendi kaiganye tumpurenye. Makura oto sena taranya sipereki oyo twa kutumbura seal. Ano zina dining hall zetu na inye makuma komaruhanta ni ipereki ozo twa kutumburanya strap. Ano sine tupuno ndiada wizanye ninke mo dining hall ozo ngwendi zo twa kutumburanya si hydrocarbon accumulation di kwa maholi ya yasikinye moninke mo dining hall zetu. So ngapi nyo mwatu irugana? So ngapi nyo mwatu irugana? So we use a machine during the exploration. The machine is very simple to understand. We use sound wave. So we send sound wave in the ground, and the sound wave is reflected back to the surface. So which means that we have the source and also the receiver, right? The receiver, this is what we call either, the receiver is what we call, we cannot see it here, but it's behind this ship. It's what we call, if it's in the sea, we call it hydrophone, or if it's on land, we call it geophone. Reflected back and to the receiver, and then we capture. It's like the underground photo, right? So these are the vehicles. I think most of us in Kavango, we have seen these vehicles. The Recon Africa, they've been using this type of vehicles. Their job is very simple. It's just vibrate, send the sound wave in the ground, and then behind these vehicles, those are what we call geophones, which the sound wave will be reflected back and capture. So to give you a practical example, it's almost like, let's say that a pregnant lady go to the hospital, want to see how the baby is doing inside the tummy, right? So the baby, the doctor will not open the lady. The doctor will use what we call ultrasound to scan the stomach to see whether the baby is healthy or not. Based on the picture, the doctor will tell you whether to take some medication or to take some vitamin because the baby is not healthy or the baby is healthy. Exactly the same like what this vehicle is doing, right? So, asi morukwangari, asi upina pokupapara mahori, oze kuruga nesanya agamatua, ago iruga na yago, wa kutuma sindundumo sezui. Tumo sindundumo sezui size maninke mevu anos sindundumo sezui apanas katengura makura konyima yogaga mamtua gatwa kutumbura. Kwa karako gwendasi mambako gena gaku guana ina yakutunda konhi zevu. So which we receive from those vehicles which I just showed you from the previous slide. So based on this picture, the underground picture, a qualified geologist or geophysicist will tell you where's the source rock, where's the reservoir, where's the migration path, where's the seal, and if that reservoir is fully trapped, based on this picture here. But there's one thing. On this picture, we cannot see any hydrocarbon. There's no hydrocarbon liquid visible on this picture. So as ilienyu efano tuguananya kogoge na mamhina gena twatumbagura si pefanueli ogunatwa kutumbrasi galirongeranye u geologist ndi petrophysics akekuranya tanterenya si okusakara kombisa zetu kupiko okuzakara DHD dining hall zetu kupiko okuyaka senior zo dining hall vazikudumikandi ndingapi ndi senior zo dining hall kuvora si monompachi namunye kwazikudumika kuvora zikarenye ikwa maholi nye pefanueli kuvora situmone po maholi. Okay. So when we find the picture from the geologist or geophysicist, in order for us to confirm, we need to drill. That's the only way to see whether the structure contains hydrocarbon or not, right? So mokuninka nyasi ngano tumone nyasi okay, ozo oyotwa mono pefano nyesena si kwa maholi oili ndingapi twakona kumborora iyo nya bakurugana bare kon Africa marape na pefano lina namtantere nokuvora tumone asi maholi pogeli ndingapi. So drilling in sea, in water, we use these ships, drill ship or semi-sub. On land, we use the land rig. This land rig is from Recon Africa. This from Shell or Total. I've been on all these structures, either on land or in sea. Asuma kuninga singanwa si tumborore. Aga yegohe na ngwende asi tatuka tumbora si wale mahina aturuganesa ipotumborore tutare nyasi maholi mongeli ndingapi na sihugu warame mahina go kufana ngeshi twagamona mokavango yego bakuruganesa Recon Africa anomo mema taturuganesa nye ikepa kwa manyasi etondolo mema papa pariahura sena se tondo nene kura turuganesa skepe stwakutumbora si drill ship anosnetbu sena si kapise tondo nene kura turuganesa na ikepa imwe. Okay, twagwana maholi, twamborora, twagagwana, and twagamono, gawiza pontunda, natu vinya twagakonfirmasi ya wesili, agaigo maholi. Makura, ngape mnaturugana? Twakona kugapu agesamo. Twakona kugapu agesamo, ibotuga tuarenye, okuinanyi awagawa paikire dogoroga tupe mliogwa. Mora maholi gene, sinetupasi agome evuga kara. Ago kapisi mulio unene nyetu akona gatu warahena kon fabrika ipo wagaga process gakatupe maua. So we found the oil and we quantify it that is in a larger volumes, and also the investments can justify that. So the next thing we have to do is we have to produce. So these are the installations which we use to produce the hydrocarbon. On land, we use the pumps. There are various types of pumps, but this is one of its kind. And in sea or in water, we use either a ship or a fixed installation. And again, it depends on the water depth. If the water depth, for example, like where Total Energy and Shell found hydrocarbon is 3,000 meters, equivalent to 3 kilometers. It's very deep. We cannot build this installation. We have to go on with the floating installation. But if the water depth is just maybe, let's say that 200 meters, we can build a fixed installation in water. So I see aga so poganinga singano se maholi tukapagese mwina mevu mara twakagwana twakamona si maholi twakakonfirma si pourundu kuvura turuganisenya nopomba dalisiga ano ezi pomba zimwe tutwakujikidapa nyakuvura dikare nopomba dononzi edwa turuganesa ano sine tupasi momema ndi mefuta kuvura turuganese skepa ndi wale kuvura turuganesa nyengwe ndi tunzugo tumwe tunatuvura kudika dogoro tukasike kuna kohi iliyomema nye kapisi kohi kuna kwa karamaholi nye kohi iliyomema. So kwa manyasi ngapi mля kare tondo letu iliyomema ngwendu mwagwa na maholi o Shell ndi Total Energy apo itondo sili unene wenda se 3,000 meters mapono kuvura sinye tudikrepo ezi tunzugo gono tu ningazi ngando tudike nazi 3,000 meters dogoro tukasike kuna kohilo mema usekuvura tuze ponye no skepa oso skepa makura isonye nazi tuvatera tupombegena maholi tugatwarenye kwina abagawa paikire. So this is just the repetition, the three sectors of our oil and gas industry. Upstream include exploration, drilling and extraction, midstream, processing, storage, transportation, and downstream refinery and distribution. Ediko karatuno kondadina ntatu dina twatumbagoranye twatumbrase upstream, midstream, and tani downstream. This is the hydrocarbon industry life cycle. So when the company wants to drill, they must have permission. They have to get permission from our government. So either from the Ministry of Mines and Energy, that is, the only ministry which gives the license. And if the ministry authorizes a company to drill, then the company will start exploring, which means searching for those 5 petroleum elements which you have just discussed on the previous slide. If acquiring the pictures, if they see all those 5 petroleum elements, then the company will drill to confirm whether there's hydrocarbon or not. If they confirm and they found, so they will drill another well, which we call appraisal. Because the size of the well, I don't know whether you have seen Recon Africa drill well. It's very small, it's not big. 36 inch, plus minus 60-something centimeters, like this size. This is the biggest diameter which we use, and according to the geophysics or geologists, they can tell us whether the hydrocarbon is 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, or 20 kilometers, but we have to use the standard size, 36 inch. So we have to use 36 inch, whole section, we drill up to 10 kilometers where the geologist, the structure is. So when we found the oil in the first exploration well, because it's very small, the size of it, we start with a bigger size, 36 inch, and we end with 8.5, plus minus 21, 22 centimeters, very small. And based on that, you cannot conclude that I found oil here, then I have to produce. We have now to drill a lot of wells to confirm how big is your reservoir. That confirmation is what we call appraisal, right? And if you confirm, let's say that you drill 10, 15 wells, and all are giving positive results, then you are sure that I can go for development. Now you can quantify your volume, and you're now thinking about producing, because you know that when you start producing, you can get profit. So this is a development. You drill a lot of wells for production wells. And after drilling production wells, then we go to production. We start producing, removing the oil from the underground. This process will take quite a long time, sometime 25, 30, 60 years, depending on how big your reservoir is. So at the end of that life cycle, then you have to abandon your well. You have to make sure that it's safe for the community, safe for the environment, and you continue again monitoring it, that nothing is coming out from the ground. What is in the ground, we have to keep it in the ground. This is what we call abandonment. So, Gwendi Pausupi, I see stages okuho asokwa kara nyasi kupapara maholi oso twa kutumbura nyasi exploration azokwa kara kwa kwatere mwasi kupapara maholi senator wakagwana tatumborora ano senator wakagwana hena makura tatumborora ko ikero lya peke tutare nyasi aga maholi twagwana pa sene nanza 10 kilometers ndiwale 20 kilometers tunda panas kama kuvura hena ni monde po maholi ndingapi ole kero kumborora lyovaile ole lyo kutumbura si appraisal well mora yo kurugana o hara kudivasi aga maholi na agwana kuvura hena niga monendi ozinanye kilometers zinanyo turaponye 20 30 ndi wale 60 kilometers va geologists wonyo kutanterasi ngesi toka mborora wale 30 kilometers and 40 kilometers maratu alimonanye inatwa tumbura nye ina marohage tugena gatano gena twa tumbura ya gena gena atugwana kena kugogena ninke mamtua gena line fanolina atugwana kugogena mamtua gena twa tumbagera igonye ilionye nali tuvateranye tutanteranya si awe ngesi kutunda pa mborore voroze 60 km toka mbora ikero lya peke mora structure kwa kusimonasi nasinye saligwane kera anosine natumbororanye makero gatano ndiwale mrongo ndiwale norongo mbali awe nagenye kwa kutulikidasi awe sili maholi twakagwana makura tatu zinye stages twa kutumbrasi development mara odiva na wasi tunda pa wala dogoroko rundu 130 kilometers maholi na kunyoku maholi twakagwana mora twakumborora makero gomanzi twambora makero gokusika wale ko 20 kuvura tuga pwagesemo hano kuvura tuga randese ano nsonso zago mliosi lunene so ozo twakutumbura nyasi development tatuvareke kumbora makero agatwa kutumbrasi production well agatwa nagavuranye kusika maskando so sire mara kuvuranye tu ganane mogena maholi mevu skando zokuhora pamwe wale nomvo 30 ndi wale nomvo 60 so aga makeronye twa kumborora pa po development well kapiga kara makero ngwendi gagatwa kumborora ninka po pressure ne intani vera hena twa kurugana se vara ya peke mora twa idivasi elekero tali pe maholi ano elekero lya kona pamanye dogoro kwena ko 60 years ndi wale 30 years litupe maholi ano pokmana snetupu twa mbororo go maho ninka go makero twa mana kumborora makora tatu varekenye ugana na mumevu na maholi twa gona gana na mumevu varenye kwina abagawa pakere ipogatu penye mlio go gwina maholi so ogoga twa kutumburanya si production anosne ntupasi twamonwa si ngesa patwa mana kunana maholi twakara posuro so sire wale 60 years so pato maholi makora ikero letu jina twana na maholi tatuli wapa ikenye mwina yao waperasi nokuvara silizo na gure mkunda gwetu ndi ininke nanyi yakarakohe nokuvara sipo age pontunda marasne tuna ipaga pontunda osepato kuvura hizo na gure mkunda gwetu ndi wale kuvura hizo na gure wale imuna yetu yakara popepi ozo hizo twa kutumbura nyasi abandonment. So some impact, hydrocarbon impact. There are some impact which we have to be aware of. There are a lot of impacts, but these are the main impacts. Political impact, conflict can happen. Environmental impact, as I've said, can damage our environment. Technological impact, which means that each and every time we must have at least some technology to keep what is underground there, must not come up. Each and every time we have innovation, people who are innovating with good technology in order for us to produce hydrocarbon, or economic impact. Snarcy, if let's say that we are not producing enough hydrocarbon, can also affect the economy of the country. These are some of the impact which we have to be aware. Asi agai gonye madigugamwe natuvura kuligwanekera mukuningasi twagwanage na maholi korai karenyasi wale una politika na matatano pokachi wale ko irongo ndi wale pokachi ko mapangero tani kuvura hena wale no mkunda detu kuvura ganya teke no mkunda detu ndi wale twakonanye paparanye wina udiwi okuningasi wasetu akona gusa moge na maholi getu no mahina gagawa pere kapis mahina gena gakuninga sikuvura ganya tekena mkunda gwetu tanina kuvura ga ndi wale ga gai pikenye ndi ngapima tuitanta economy letunye kuvisnet pu gena maholi gena twakuna na mevu kapis manzi unene kuvura tumone asi mwina mliogu ina goma holi kuvura nye guzona gore economy letu. Safety. This is the most important thing. So we have covered the impact. Everything we discussed about the impact also apply to safety. So we have to be safe on the politics, which means people who knows about the oil and gas industry conflict have to be there. They have to understand that this thing brings conflict. And there are those people who understand this, or the people, the environmentalists, the people who understand about the environment, the plants, the animals, the living organism have to be there. Or the technology, the innovators, young ones have to be very innovative in order for us to produce hydrocarbon safely. Or the economists, the people who understand the value of it. Because sometimes, we know that it's hydrocarbon, but do we understand the value of it? So people who understand the value of it, the economists must also be there. So all these people have to be local people. Local people have to understand those things in order to avoid the impact which were discussed. So I see nainyenye twazogere yokuhamenasi maudigwa gareta ninke maholi. So owoyo hena bantu hena twakupaparasi ngana wokuvura ruga nanye moye yokupapara yikwa maholi. Bantu abadiwa una politika abadiwa si kwa maholi sili kureta ninke malitatano pokachiko irongo bantu balirongera kobeli bakona kuiza na bayatu batere tani bantu abadiwa nye asi ndando zogogwe na maholi ndi asevan economist ndando zogogwe na maholi nani ndando zazo nani msinke kobeli bantu ena balirongeroyo nao bakona kuiza bayatu batere batarasi yaga maholi magwana ya ndando zazo za horapa ndi wale gwendi kwa badinga ntunye aomora nzisao ninke bahara technology si bantu ena bakuzubanye nainye yokuhamena mahina aganaturuganesa ipo tugusegena maholi mevu ndi mahina aganaturuganesa ipo tuwapa kegena maholi gatupe gwina mliogwao nao bakona kuiza hena tani ninke woune kwa karanyasi venanye bantu ena abazuwasi nanino mkundana ningape makara ichina ningape maita peke venanye environmentalist abazuwasi okay ikora mana ningape maiparuke na venyo bantu otwa tumbakera na venye bakaranya bakona karanyasi vantu womomo mosorongo ndi womomo mkunda iponyasi mliogogogo maholi agotoa kutundisa mevu gutompoke na wenye wakona kara opopo mkunda asi mliogo maholi msinke. So there are a lot of benefits from oil. Of course, we get crude oil. We get energy, diesel or petrol from crude oil, but all the byproducts, here we are talking about petrochemical. All these are coming from crude oil. Either we're talking about plastics, our water bottles here, our chair, our computers, our mics, our phones, toothbrush, some important vitamins, fertilizers, all those things are very important in our lives, and those things come from crude oil. Asi mliogo maholi kuitumba gora inzi, asi na yenye tuwa kumona pa. Na yenye tuwa kumona pa, kutundiranya kwa maholi. Okay, imo, kuvura gatu piasi, kuvura tuguaneko diesela, ndi wale kuvura tuguaneko petrol. Nye, kuvura tuguanenye, na yenye tuwa kumona pa. No cell phone detu, no computer detu, makende getu gomema, na inyoyo kutundira kwa maholi. Se na tarasi, se na tuzamono nzugo detu. Tuka varuri asi, ninke msinge nani haitundira kwa maholi. Kuvura tukare ninke surprise. Kuvura tumoni asi wale, kuvura tukare nampila asi 80% ninke na yenye kwa kutundira kwa maholi. Ogoi gonye muliogo maholi. Yeah, here we are just repeating, the slides which you have already previously, but I will be focusing on the job, the workers. The jobs in the oil and gas industry is across value chain. It can be officers, it can be security, soldiers, people who are working in the agriculture, nurses, people who understand about, tourists or tourism, hospitality, recreations, real estate, teachers who understand, can teach the oil and gas industry, plumbers. There are a lot of jobs, and we cannot mention them all because everything's related. Asi rugana inatuvuranya si guananya sinapaswa kara no maholi. Rugana inzi kora ikarasi ngwende wa kwetu ninke vanersa moranao vena vantu wa kurugana pogoge na mahina gena twa mtantere pena na wadana slide dina twa mtantere marawe na vantu kurugana plus minus 12 hours wakona nersa ogoga watandirasi owengesi upango kogeka poa wapangesi tozi kemba ukapuzumuke vanersa twa hepa tani hena vamitile na kuningasi aonao vazuva ndi vakara ni dio lokuhamena ininke yo maholi ipo varongezena ninke vadinkantu vakara popo mkunda vamitili natu ahara tani vena vantu asi vadiva ngwenda twa kutumrasa plumbers vadiva na nyi yokuhamena kono pomba no iko kwao ngwenda mwena twa mtandero sukuruga na sana pomba na watu ahara tani va engineer va geologist oona watu ahara iruga na yaireta maholi inzi kuitumbagura. Okay, economy, again, we're just repeating. GDP of the country will go high, create 1,000 jobs across multiple industry, attract foreign investors, stimulate local businesses, strengthen public infrastructure. Asioyo na inyetua itumbagoranya. Next slide. So on the community, Mumkunda, inke natvura mauwa msinke natvura gwana bosne pastor gwana maholi asi Mumkunda kuvura nye tudike itabra yetu kuvura tudike ipangero yetu nosure detu kuvura tudike maratu gwana maholi ininke inzi nokuvura si kuitumbagura mora nagenyogo mauwa ogagareta maholi. So these are also some benefits which we get from the oil and gas industry on the community level. So it can contribute to the local development through corporate social responsibility, funding schools, hospitals, infrastructures, and support health, education, social welfare, foster long-term positive relations, and encourage community participation. Asiogo, nagenyogo, mawa, all those are benefits. So, twazunya si maholi ngape mwatukagwana, ngape mwatukatundisa mevu, tani mliogwa msingi. Ngezi tuzeninye tukataranye history za Namibia, na nakutwatundira kupiko, iponye tuikwata kanisa nainye. So, we understand the history, we understand like the story, how we explore, how we located the hydrocarbon, how we produce, how we refine it, and the benefit which brings to the country or to the local communities. So let's go and see where we came from, Namibia as a country. So in Namibia, according to the geologists, the experts, they've identified 4 recognized basins, those are sediments, and offshore means in water, and 2 onshore. So those basins, those are at least the one which we might find hydrocarbons. So let's go. So Namibia, so as kwa manye medio lowe na watu wa kutumbrasi wa geologisti, hao watanterasi momemagetu. Watu wa kutumbrasi basin ndi mambaye shamwina kuvura tugwane moi kwa mahori. Karamonya si ne ano porundu kwa karamo kwa karapogawali kwa karasi nama tani ovambo hizo nyoza twikiranye dokorozi uize kwa Kavango kara kwetu varekoni Africa omoi monyo vatanteranya se geologist imo kuvura tugwane maholi. This is the blocks, as I've already said, that when the foreign country comes here, want to do all these drillings and exploration, they must have a license. So our government, the Ministry of Mines and Energy, they've demarcated this block, things 100 by 100, and these blocks are the one which the IOCs or international companies can apply and get the license, and they got now the right to drill in that block according to their licenses. So 1994, you can see there were few blocks which were occupied by operators. 2007, you can see some very beautiful, colorful map there. And 2011, 2023, 2024, you can see almost the whole offshore, and you can say that maybe 50% or 40% inland, all those are occupied by operators who are looking for hydrocarbon. Asi okuiko twatundiliranye na wenyewe na wakupapara maholi asise nataranye se mo 1994 wadiwanye ndio ngena company ndo nyes natara mo 2024 no company daligwederere mora yeruga na kwa kuvuka yokupapara maholi. Apa kwa kulikida tupu partner wetu awakaranyo Mosorongo akara Chevron, BW Kudu, Pan Continental, Shell, Total Energy, Recon Africa, Gulf na wenyawa akwakaranya si odoido na company dakara mo Namibia dakupapara kwa maholi. All these companies here in Namibia, they are busy exploring hydrocarbon. So the story for Ovambo Basin, as I already said, Ovambo Basin is the one which extended up to Kavango region. So we started long time in the 60s. The 60s where we acquired the sound waves to see those 5 parameters for hydrocarbon, and also we drilled some wells there, Etosha T1 and Etosha 1A. And, but fast forward, you can see that in the same basin, we got Naingopo 2024, and now we are busy with the Kavango West 1X, busy searching for carbon. Asezi izo mbudi zetunye twakara nazo mtu kutumbura mwina mo basin twakutumbrasi ovambo basin izonye za wiza dogoroko kumkunda kwetu twakutumbrasi kwa Kavango osakwa varekerenye kono 60 ano imohena vakara kwetu ninke vareko na Afrika tataranyasi imohena vakumborora ngwendi mo 2024 imwamborere kero lyao na ingopo tani ngesi mwakare na mambore kero lyao Kavango West 1X. No, story setu somonama basin na mohena moskwao so irugana na kwa nike kwa kuvuka asi yokupapara ikwama hoji offshore ndias momema. So this is our story for offshore. So we started cannot even see here. So also in the 60s, and then in 1970, this now where we were talking about jobs, we're talking about businesses, now where the local content policy, which my friend will be discussing, comes in on this higher reward. Asia gai gonye karanye ngwenda si kama letu na yenye ininke tu azogere currency udigusili kupapara ikwa maholi oyotu waizo marasine tunatuka guana maua agagareta maua manzisi lunene ngwende mwenatuaka tumbagura. So
how one can upskill themselves, they can get training and so forth. Next one, please. This slide basically shows different companies all over the world. Some of them, they are in Namibia. It's just to show how much they are worth, to indicate how big this sector is. The first one, it's worth 1.5 trillion. And then the second one, 400 billion, 300, 200. And these ones here, they are doing exploration in Namibia. So it's basically to indicate that how much money comes from this sector. So with so much money, you need to have mechanisms to make sure that you benefit from that. Next. Background, my previous colleague touched on this. I'll just speak on it briefly. That is to say, exploration of oil and gas started a long time ago, as early as 1974-75, when Kudu gas was discovered. From there were no discoveries, only around 2022, where we now discovered oil. So it's an expensive exercise. And I want to emphasize a point here, to say we are having companies which have been searching for oil since independence. And there are only, some of them only finding oil now. So these companies are not making profit. During that time, they were just spending. So only when they will start sell the oil, that's when they will start to make a profit. The reason I'm emphasizing on this point is that I've had discussion with some people where they feel that 10% is not enough through NAMCO, the stake of 10%. And then I informed the person that we need to look at it broadly. Government does not only receive 10% through NAMCO. Besides the 10% of NAMCO, there's also tax, which is payable, which is about 31% tax. And on top of that, you have royalty, 5%. So already when you add all this, you are already close to 50%, how much will go to government. And that's not all. These companies are still going to employ Namibians, and they are going to employ Namibian companies to provide goods and services. Tax is still payable on those, and that tax will also add up. So when you add all that, you are easily close to, you are above 50%. So that is to say, for every $100, government can easily walk away with more than $50, not necessarily 10% as we look at it. So that is just one segment. We have to look at it holistically. Next. The aspect of the Constitution, I have already touched on it to indicate that Article 100, what it indicates. But besides that, we have the Petroleum Exploration and Production Act of 1991. This is the major law which governs the upstream sector. And beside that law, there's also the Petroleum Agreement, whereby government and the companies will enter into this agreement to agree on certain things, basically to amplify on some of the provisions which are in that law. So, in this law, Section 14 talks about local content. So we actually have a provision already in the law which talks about local content. Now, one may ask a question then, why are we coming up with this policy if we already have a provision in the law which talks about local content? The reason we are coming up with this local content policy is because the provision is not substantive enough. It indicates that companies should hire Namibian companies, Namibian people, and so forth. It does not go on to say how do they do it, in what manner, and so forth. And if they don't do it, what happens, that sort of thing. So this policy basically expands on that provision because the way the provision is, it's quite broad. So the policy becomes very specific. What needs to happen? What strategies are there which government will put in place to make sure that the local content policy is adhered to? Now, when you come up with a policy, you need to have a vision and you need to have a mission. Now, firstly, we need to understand the difference between a mission and a vision. A vision is where you would like to see yourself after a certain period of time. But a mission, that provision actually does not emanate from the policy, but it comes from the Constitution. We are merely borrowing what already exists in the Constitution. I'm mentioning this aspect because some people are of the view that we should do away with that, but that is something which is enshrined in our supreme law. Guiding principles. Guiding principles, this is basically to say, it's almost to say, what are the beliefs that we believe as we are carrying out or crafting this policy and so forth. So our belief is that this policy should be progressive development and impact. So we should be able to evolve. We might find that the requirements in the sector of today will be different to the requirements of in 5 years. So we need to be able to evolve in order to keep up with those requirements. Commitment to health, safety, and environment. We know that where we have discovered oil, it's in the ocean. And we know that Namibia has a very good fishing sector. So we need to be careful that the activities which are being carried out there do not endanger the fishing sector. Sure that companies also follow the same trend. Last one is adherence to international best practices. This industry is highly technical, so we need to adhere to international standards. If we don't adhere to that, we might find situations whereby accidents may occur and so forth. So those practices are well established. We need to follow them in order for us to manage this important sector very well. Policy objective. The policy objective, the first one, is to establish a regulatory framework and an institution. That is by the skills is not there. We need to accept that it's a new industry in Namibia. So we do not have all the skills. So there will be certain skills that we are lacking. So we need to, as government, together with the oil companies, how do we work together to close those gaps? People need to be trained. Attachments have to be done. People through Petrofund have to be sent out to study in those areas that we do not have. We need to have a plan in place to say by this time we should have closed this gap and so forth. So another one, it's enhanced supply and localization. To give an example, a rig, where a platform they use to extract oil. If a contract is given to a company to build that rig, in Namibia, there won't be a company telling them that you should unbundle this contract. For aspects which can be done in Namibia, it should not be included in that major contract and so forth. Next one is to say research and development. If we don't do research and development, we will always be stuck. Research and development is important to give us ideas to say what we are doing today might not be the right approach in a few years' time. We need to continually improve. And how do we do that? Through research and development. And that's where also our education sector also comes in here to assist us and so forth. And then transfer of knowledge. This is whereby oil companies will be required to partner with Namibian companies so that Namibian companies can learn how to use these highly technical equipment and so forth. They need to partner. We have it in the policy as a requirement. So of course, all of these are opportunities before Namibians, those who are interested to go in the sector directly, to say, okay, I do my research to say what skills are needed. I register a company policy. It will assist the country to create more jobs. Because we are basically telling oil companies, hire Namibians. Skills development and transfer. Because we are telling oil companies that if you tell us as government that I'm hiring outside, but I do not, because there are no Namibians, we will ask you, come up with a plan, how are you going to assist government to close that gap? So the company then will have to come up with a plan to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how many people I'm going to attach and so forth. And as a regulator, we have to be satisfied with that, or else we will not approve it. SME growth, small and medium enterprises growth, they will also benefit from this, especially when it comes to supply of goods and services. It's just, of course, upon them to identify what type of goods and services are needed in the sector. And again, we need a local business. You might, prioritize a local business. For instance, if a service on average costs 100,000, you might find a situation whereby a local business is charging perhaps 120 or even 200,000. So that will be an additional cost on those companies. So again, there we need to draw a line that local companies do not make their services too expensive. Because the moment they do that, it will create a problem where, from our vision, where we indicated that we need this sector to be competitive. Now, if it becomes very expensive for the investors, the sector will not become competitive. And the risk of protectionism, we need to avoid the situation. This used to be a department in the Ministry of Mines and Energy. But when our Excellency, our President, Her Excellency, took over this year, she felt that it's a very important sector. She wants to keep a close eye on it. Hence, it was moved from Ministry of Mines. Currently, we are now under the Office of the President, through her guidance and supervision, where we are learning quite a lot. NAMCO, this is the arm of government, whereby government also participates in the industry as a player, to also as a commercial company, to be able to get money directly, to avoid the situation of only relying on taxes. We have Petrofund, also very important. They are responsible for training aspects. Government, that's how government makes it. We'll be able to make money from this. Concluding remarks. We have presented the fundamentals of this policy. What is in this policy and what is it that government aims to achieve? We are here before the residents of this region to to seek your input, to say, this is what we have done. If the residents are of the view that we need to improve on it, please tell us, where do we need to improve? Guide us. If perhaps we have a provision which you feel is not appropriate, we need to remove. This is your opportunity to tell us that perhaps remove this one, it is not needed. Of course, again, if the policy is good, captured your input. Once they are happy with that, it will go to the National Planning Commission. The Planning Commission will look through it. If they are satisfied, they will endorse it, and the policy will become effective. Once it becomes effective, we will require the operators, the oil companies, to start adhering to this policy. It is government intention that this policy should become effective this year. However, it will depend how quickly we get the inputs, or if there are no objections and so forth. Of course, if there are no objections, it will make it easier to finalize it as quickly as possible. So with that, I have come to the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Can we give another round of applause to Mr. Mbeha? Again, just to reiterate that since, for those who are having the program, and we started a little bit behind which we have promised, and maybe I'm going to ask again from my high table that we need to switch. I've gotten a guidance here. Mr. Mbundu, maybe before we move to the next session, will you help us just to summarize Mr. Mbeha's presentation? Ya, eka kuiningira tupunyasi walie ko akuro na wakara mokachiketu, vava peko, ekwata sano, lio zos na presentation za uvali asiko sinke za hamene. Tana twikiranye tuze ko mapuro, ndi no kwa ikwata sa Kongo sina. Ya, Mpandu.
Okay. Mpandu nene. So tani hetekereko. Si asi wale hosevamwe wale kwa kara nyinele gano ya si policy zoze zinye policy asi azo kwa kara si tuakona kugwana mo mawa moyikwa maholi yetu ozo izo za karanya si vision ano mission gena mawa gena tuwa haragwana moyikwa maholi kupitiranye moyirugana erandeso tani nonongesefa domo mo Namibia tani bantu na wenye wakona kara mo Namibia asi ezi policy ezi zokunika asi bantu na wenye abatunga mo Namibia wagwane ko mawa koyikwa maholi mawa ngwendi asi irugana ediwo lyokuhamena ikwa maholi tani babature nongese Tanyezi local content zetu azo kwa kutantanya si no company nadinye dakule hameka moikwa maholi wakona
and then government will become 100%. We need to draw a balance whereby you don't expect someone to fund the activity since independence. They are searching, you know. And when they came here, we told them that it's 10%. So I came here on that. Okay, it's 10%. I'm spending my money, Now when we find oil and then government comes and said, we are now making it 70%. Then it will show Namibia that Namibia is not a stable, predictable environment. And when that happens, generally you have a problem whereby, because we still need investors, by the way. A lot of areas still need to be searched. When we start showing that we change a lot, investors will start saying, maybe it's not such a good idea. But if we really feel that we need to increase, we can have that discussion, but it has to be clear how much do we want, and then we have to look at the consequences. A lot of considerations have to be taken into effect, and then we move forward from that. On the aspect of compensation, there are no specific compensation yet to the sector. So we will use the general compensations which are used. Currently now, when you are moved, in terms of government policy, a person has to be compensated. You are compensated in terms of the value of the things you have. Because you have a house, you have planted trees, all those things. You need to move so that a value will be determined, and then you have to be compensated in terms of that. And of course, if oil is found under your land, again, in the beginning, I indicated that the oil does not belong, the oil belongs to the state. So it's not of the individual person, the owner of that land, to say, it's my land, you have found oil, you must pay for it. No, it belongs to the state, collectively to all of us. So what you will be compensated on, it's what you have on top, your structures and so forth. That you will be compensated. On the aspect of a body to be established, because currently I indicated that the upstream petroleum unit was part of the Ministry of Mines. Now it has moved to the Office of the President. So what the policy is doing is just to cement and to properly establish that body. It is there, but we also need something, a law basically, to cement that this is the body which is responsible for so and so forth. The president, of course, has powers to just establish any institution. But we just feel that on top of that, the president has established this. We just want to support it with a law to say, and that body will be the upstream petroleum unit, which will comprise of various departments which are needed in the industry, from geologists, engineers, scientists, economists, all the various skills that are needed. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, we also heard comment from IUM. We appreciate what because we need certain courses which students can assist the student to basically be able to have skills to penetrate the industry. Now, in terms of skills, whatever skill it is, of course, we need to understand that certain skills, let's take nursing. It's not necessary to say maybe you are going to need a petroleum nurse, but it's to say that sector also will require nurses. Because when you look at the rigs, some of these rigs are kilometers in the sea. And while they are away there, someone can get sick, they can get injured. So that platform will require some medical personnel to be stationed there. Now, of course, there might be some courses to say you need a certain course because in case of an accident, you need to be able to survive out there. So there are certain courses which are given, survival something, just forgot the name, that one needs to take before you go there. If you didn't do that course to be able to survive there, you will not. So it's not to say it's a particular course to a profession, but it's to say to any profession that will go on that rig, you need that particular course. It's not very, yes, yes. Yeah, offshore survival course. It's not very lengthy. I think it's less than a month or so. A week. So once you have that, then you'll be able to go. So just to answer that one, I'm not sure if I have left out any particular question. If not, thank you.
Okay, this time around we are going to start from this side. My apologies. Since we entertained a lot of questions from this side, this time around we'll start from here.
Everyone. My name is Salmo Sole, a student at IUM and also a member of Youth Constituency Sustainable Development of Namibia. Just to give reference, based on the presentation that they've presented, for Ms. Maggie Shino and Mr. Charles, they said that meant for the Namibian based on oil and gas. And also there's a gap in some part of transferring knowledge and skills. Okay, right. Since it's going hand in hand with the purpose of the policy to promote skills, knowledge, and transfer so that enterprises stays in Namibia. My question is, where do they offer oil and gas in Namibia? Since these courses, they are only broadly offered. They're only like broadly offered.
Okay, I think that question is somehow clear, but yeah, we'll answer. Maybe just to elaborate on that, our local institution have started to take proactive measures. One of it is just, as the director from IUM has elaborated, that they are introducing courses. NAST and UNAM also have incorporated courses in oil and gas. Yes, what you are saying is true. Previously, we did not have enough courses for oil and gas in the country. Most of the courses were done abroad, but we are starting to introduce step by step a few courses that can be introduced. So, any other hand? Okay.
Good afternoon. I stand by the protocol observed already, and my director, my dean of students, and my chair, Mr. Patrick. My name is Snonge Bonifacius Snonge. I'm a marketing agent for Window Fashion Week and a journalist for Host Connect. Also a student at IUM, the current Mr. IUM. Yes. First of all, I'd just like to say on what Mr. Charles said. He said apparently if they find oil on your land, they just compensate you on the properties that you have. But my question is like, what is the benefit for the community members that stay on that land, that have been there for generations before their forefathers? And also the thing of saying apparently no, we pay tax to the government, and then there's no need for us to help the community again. I feel like we should, as an organization, we should get rid of that behavior or mentality, so we can know how to help out the community, because the communities are also suffering. If you find oil under their land, do something about it. Don't just pay tax and then like, okay, no, now we have to set back, and then the community, the government will handle it. But you as NAMCO or Total Engines, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to help the community? that also brings me to what my lecturer said. Apparently, we should make sure on the touring he was talking about. We should come up with something. We need to be innovative about this, not just wait for the government and then do something about it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, the gentleman at the back.
Thank you very much. It's Mr. Karupu, a teacher by profession. My question goes as, why oil and gas moved from Ministry of Mines and Energy, not other natural resources? Because Africa tells us a different story, where countries where they have oil and gas and it's being managed by the presidency. How is our story going to be different? And why not other natural resources to be moved from Ministry of Mines and Energy into the presidency? Thank you very much.
Before we move there was a hand here in front, then we move over to the next row.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is definitely a recommendation. If we are to get the benefit of local content by stimulating a circular local economy, the only way to do it is as by being intentional and deliberate in our actions. Otherwise, it will be business as usual, whereby the usual politically connected and the wealthy people in the society with access to information and resources will be the only ones benefiting, leaving the poor and less connected but abled many Namibians not to benefit. I stand corrected, as the president's mantra is, this is not business as usual when it comes to the oil and gas product. So I recommend that when evaluating construction contracts for foreign companies based on technical and financial scores, local companies should be given preferential treatment. These can include recognition for good standing with the SCC, employment commission, previously disadvantaged status, and the majority Namibian ownership. So to support this, a local content score making up to 15% to 25% of the total score should be included. And this score can reflect key factors such as majority Namibian ownership by previously disadvantaged individuals, employment of Namibians, training for recent Namibian graduates, and support and growth of local businesses. I thank you.
Now we are moving to the other row. Can I see the indication of hands? The gentleman here in the middle has been raising for quite a while. Then we move. Okay, we'll come to you now.
Thank you very much. My name is Gabriel Tenga. I'm a Nkurenkuru resident. And I already stand on the protocol as already established. With me, most of the things have been said. The first thing I want to say is governments in Africa, we have a tendency of looking up to investors from foreign countries. And you know, for the young generation like us, it's very hard to convince us that this approach has worked for our government to improve our lives, our economies, and so on. So these companies, Shell, Recon Africa, and other companies that are coming to invest in our countries, they actually have interest in our countries. These companies are funded by the governments. For example, Recon Africa is a Canadian company. Shell is also funded by US government and United Kingdom. If you look at the approach of other countries like Saudi Arabia, for example, they created companies of their own in order to manage their oil resources. so that it 100% benefits the people in their countries, instead of trying to source investors and not really far back away. For example, for the past, for the past 40 years, Saudi Arabia was not that rich like today. Can we not learn from them, for example, to ask, which approach did you take? Because if we are afraid of losing investors, we can get advice from them to say, this is the approach you should take that will actually benefit your country and grow your economies. So let us bear in mind, for example, not for example, but Mr. Bear, please advise the president very well. Because what we have in Namibia is the advisors that we hear, but looking at the government, what the government is doing, somebody will be told, no, they had a PhD in economics, but the advice of economics to the president is very poor. So advise the president that we need companies of our own that will manage our oil. This investors thing, the US has interest in these companies. Obviously, if a Russian company comes to say we are also exploring oil in Namibia, US will say no on our behalf, but it's our country. It's just the same as you having a crop field. I allow you to come and plow and harvest, then you go. You just give me one bag of mahangu. And you still want me to believe that that is my crop field. It doesn't make sense at all. And then the second point, we have a history of mismanagement of minerals and resources in Namibia. Our diamonds, for example, recently they even stole diamonds in Namibia. And we know these people who stole. We cannot say it now, but we know as people who can understand these things. And then NAMCO itself already is implicated, the management is already implicated in scandals of corruption and so on. So already as a citizen, it gives you no confidence in that entity or institution that is established by the government. Right now, I have no confidence in you as you came. I must just say it as it is, because the management is in court right now as we speak. So we should not continue like the way we deal with our minerals like diamonds, gold, copper. Right now, our minerals are being shipped out. They are owned by the foreign companies. Our government only owns a small stake. And we don't really get any much of income from these investments that the so-called foreign investors. So my recommendation is, can at least the government, if it's unable to stand on its own, at least demand a 50% stake in these investments. Why am I saying so? Because, for example, $1 million that is invested, and you said it's a 10%. So 10% of $1 million, that is very little money. And then if you say royalties and other things, and also corporate tax, royalties, these dividends, they are only paid in small amounts. I don't think right now these companies are paying to the government in terms of royalties and dividends and so on. They probably just paid the license fee to acquire the license. And then the last point is government need to invest in skill transfer and education in these industries, that the emerging industries and also future industry. For example, people are talking about the 5th industrial revolution, and we have AI now booming. If you see some other countries are already establishing 6G while we are still using 4G in the country. So we don't have even any framework right now to say we have a framework that's going to support the innovative ideas in artificial intelligence and so on. We are running so behind. That's why I said we need to advise the president very well. Thank you very much.
Maybe before we move to the break, let's just give the mic to the gentleman, Mr. Kasera.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Stefanus Kudumo. the chairperson for Kavango West Communal Land Board. But my question might not speak about board, communal land board, but I might a bit refer to environmental matters. Point number one, I should like to make it as a comment. It's high time Namibia should develop books that we can use starting from grade 8 to grade 12 about oil and gases. I cannot be surprised when I reach at UNAM and they are telling me I must do geology or in other things. So at least I must get used from where I'm coming from. The other point is health. In first presentation, our brother showed the machine that they use to send waves. And I'm sure a house away from here in 500 meters can be destroyed. What are the measures? I heard the mitigation, in the policy there are this mitigation and other things. It's only that they were not presented to us how they were outlined. So I want to hear how they are outlined. Point number 3, we should remember here in Namibia, we have law, we have policy, but at the end, these laws and policies are not speaking in one line. Our brother Mbea, okay, he was talking about Article 100 of Namibia Constitution. I wanted him to speak the Article 95, sub-article I, protection of environmental and biodiversity. So, please, when you outline the policy, did you consider this article as well? Because what we are seeing currently is not considerable. So at the end, they will tell you, no, we know how the Environmental Commission can assist us on this one. Those guys, they are just in Windhoek. But when it comes here, I will try to give a recommendation when I am done with my question here. So, but my question remains that, did you consider this section or this article? How well and protectable of the environment, wildlife, where the drillings, including the neighboring countries, when we talk about Botswana, there is Kavango Delta. How well, because I know at the end, we might lose that heritage. When you were drafting this policy, how strong mitigation did you set up there? Including, remember our river is shared with Angola. How do we, because certain things are closer to the river when we are doing it. The other point is, when we were outlining this policy, do we go in line with United Nations policy when it comes to environmental, sustainable environment resources? If it's so, but how, when we talk of CBO, community-based organizations, because they are in line with the United Nations policies, but they are undermines when they voice out concern, certain activities. So they are protected areas that certain activities are supposed not to take place unless a proper visibility study could be conducted. But we are finding it that the community has been divided
Additionally, the NAS is also developing a course for those that are willing to study petroleum engineering, and this is also coming in the lecturers for this institution. The Petrol Fund has also an agreement entered into an MOU with the Namibia Training Authority, NTA, and here we want now to ensure that the training that we are giving or the support that we are giving in terms of funding for scholarship, we only don't do it for undergraduate and postgraduate course, but we also have started supporting the vocational skills. We have a first rollout of scholarship that we have given on vocational skills, both in country at the institutions, and I will ask later our colleagues from Petrofund to come in and just give the data of how much we have funded with the Petrofund. And we are also acknowledging the fact that the oil industry is very new to Namibia. We applaud the IUM for taking a very bright step and even expanding their curriculum and being responsive to the needs on the ground as it's happening. But a number of institutions haven't yet come to that point of being able to provide the skills that are necessary for the industry. Remember, the industry is very highly specialized and very technical, and require special skills that are needed. So because of that, most of our scholarship and training that we are giving, we are doing it outside the country at institutions that have already been the ones that are offering these skills. For example, just last year we sent about 10 people who were qualified from the vocation, who have vocational training level of certain levels, welders and painters and fabricators, to Malaysia, so that then they can be trained to become roughneck and rustabout and be able to know how to drill, just to become drillers. So we are doing that, a combination of issues or approaches, so that we can be able to timely respond to the need of the industry as it's growing, while at the same time we are developing our local institutions to then come up and be able to offer those trainings in the country. The benefits for the community members in terms of a license or when a fine has been made, I would advise that let us focus on this benefit and this participation, not only to be when the oil is found, but right from the beginning at exploration. The country has been divided already into blocks, and some of our villages, each and every village in Namibia, even Kavango West, we are inside the block. So when an application is being submitted for an exploration license, I want the community to start mobilizing themselves so that you already establish community trust. Let's say, for example, if there is an offering that is being made for local participation and broad-based participation, then there's a community trust that is standing that says, if a block is within this area, there's a community trust that can represent the people of the region, and community trust can be an applicant or a shareholder in that application. Also, the community trust themselves can also be proactive. When you find a block that is open, you should also go out and promote and look for partners to come and partner with you outside. You look for your technical partner, you look for your financial partner, and you become the local partner, and you make your application that we have the skills, we have the capacity through our partners in the JV, and together we are applying for this license. So we should also, the community, you have the right to be very proactive and engaging yourself, positioning yourself in this industry, not necessarily only through policies and the laws, but directly also, because the exploration for oil and gas is open for all, not only for investors. And when we are also speaking about investors, we are not only speaking about non-Namibians. Anybody can be an investor, and anybody can be able to engage and have that partner to come and hold hands, as I was saying, hold hands with those that have the skills, with those that have the money, but you must organize yourself in a manner that is formal. And usually, community trust are a very good approach for broad-based participation in a community. There was a very difficult question, which is why only oil and gas was moved to the presidency. It's a very difficult question, but also a very easy one. If you look at the impact to an economy that can come from a petroleum sector, especially a sector that has made significant discoveries, as in Namibia, you would understand and support the president's decision as to why this sector needed special attention. Also, the sector is brand new. There is a lot of needs that the sector have. And it only makes sense that under the presidency, the president is also able to support, to provide the necessary support that the industry will require, because he knows that a lot of hope and a lot of potential for change in terms of really turning around the Namibian economy lies with the potential of what can come once we have started production. There was also a comment that, or a recommendation that in order for us to stimulate a circular economy, that we need to be intentional. I couldn't agree even more than that with that statement. We need to be intentional in terms of what we are doing. And it's that directive and that deliberate intention of us to make sure that the capital that is circulating or that is moving and the investment, foreign direct investment that are coming into the Namibian oil industry must remain within the sector. But how do we capture this investment and ensure, therefore, that it circulates within the economy? Is only if Namibian men and women, you stand up and ensure that you take up the services and the various responsibilities of supplying to the industry as the call comes. When we say that to drill a well offshore, it costs $100 million US. That $100 million US is divided into many pieces. For example, one of the biggest costs for that $100 million is the medical rescue, the search, the helicopter evacuation and the medical supply of medical services offshore. When you are offshore, when you drill, you must go to that site, you must go with your own hospital. You must go with a fully fledged hospital. And that fully fledged hospital must be able to take care of the full crew, and you must also be able to have an ambulance. An ambulance to a production that is 300 kilometers in the sea is not a vessel. You will not reach, the patient will not reach the next level of assistance on time. It's helicopters. So these are the bits and pieces that we Namibians need to be taking up. Those nurses that are there offshore, they must be Namibian. The supply of the medical goods and consumables that are needed, they are from Namibians. A Namibian company must be the one to run the helicopter. Where are our pilots? And ferry the people up and down, 24 hours. So these are the components that makes up this capital to be within our circular economy. But we need to stand up, and we are the vessel and the conduit of how we can capture it. Then there was also a recommendation of giving priorities in the tender evaluation of services, that at least if a company has is a Namibian company, Namibian registered, employing Namibians, it must be given a score of already up to 20%. we agree wholeheartedly and 100% with that recommendation. And I think in our evaluation plan, we also have an evaluation matrix whereby a lot of weight has already been given to companies simply because you are Namibian. And then the technicalities of your capability and ability to meet the standards will come in. So just by being Namibian, you are already given, the policy is deliberate enough that it has given you a head start. And the rest is up to us. How do we ensure then that we are on par with those that have been given a head start by their environment simply because they've been doing this for the past 100 years? Then there was also a recommendation for us to look for advice in countries that seem to be doing well for themselves. And a good example was given for Saudi Arabia. And from this point, we also agree with that notion. And I just wanted to elaborate more in terms of the call was that we need our own companies. We have our own companies. We are establishing our own companies. It's a vision of the Namibian government that we should be in control of, from the exploration to the development, to the production, to the decommissioning, to the refineries, to the gas processing, until the last drop of oil is an ink in a pen. That is the intention of the Namibian government. And that's the intention and the mandate of what is being described in this policy. And with that vision, you can then see that the government is moving towards that step. That is why our Petroleum Exploration and Production Act 1991, already when it was established, mandated the formation of a NAMCOR. NAMCOR is a company that has two arms. One is where it's involved in the downstream and the distribution of fuel that most people see. But there is a NAMCO upstream, which is a government arm in participating in all license. Each and every license, NAMCO is participating. There are those where NAMCO is a carried participant, they carry only a 10%, but there is also those licenses that NAMCO initially even was the 100% license holder. And there is also a license where NAMCO right now holds 67% as the operator. And it's through this approach that we are training NAMCO to one day be the Saudi Aramco, equivalent of Saudi Aramco in Namibia. So we are moving into that step. But it takes time, and also you need first to earn revenue from production, and then with prudent management, you take that revenue that you have earned from production and invest in then providing the financial requirement that your national companies need. So at this stage where we are, we have the company established, they have people, we are developing their skills, but we are still lagging behind because we don't have those resources for us to be able to drill the number of wells at our own cost as a state. Because we want to produce first, and with those revenues that we are earning, we will then be able to invest directly into the exploration. And hopefully, one day we will have a discovery that is 100% owned by the national oil company or a Namibian company. It is where we are heading. So, and in addition to that, the policy is also mandating for the value chain participation. We are not saying Namibians must only be involved as 10% holders in a license, but we are saying across the whole value chain, throughout, even in refineries, even if the natural gas is being used to produce electricity, Namibian companies must be part and parcel and partners for those joint ventures and be able then to capture a lot of revenue as it comes. Another question was made in a call, actually, for government to invest in skills transfer. There is a very deliberate targets that have been set in the policy in terms of skills transfer. The first one is collaboration with institutions. There's a number of MOUs that we have signed between Petrofund and a number of international institutions so that we can be able to send our people to those institutions to be trained. We also have a mandatory obligation for research and development. You can only develop your skills if you are doing the work yourself. We need to have a culture of being technical, of just doing research. And therefore, a lot of institutions also need to come in to fund this research as they are happening. Then we are also doing secondments with companies and also understudies. The Ministry of Home Affairs have now also deliberately started an approach that when they are issuing visas, every visa, there must be a secondee, an observer, somebody who is an understudy of that specialized skill that we say that we need to bring in country because we don't have it. Yes, we acknowledge, but there must be somebody who is being trained to take over so that it's not just a vicious cycle of having people coming in under the pretense of being expertise, while our young people are not growing in the same footsteps. Nobody was born with skills. They also learned. And they learned from watching others do it. We should do the same. We are doing the same. There was also a call for us to do oil and gas in our curriculum, right from primary school. We are in agreement, and it's for that reason why conversations are now being had with the Ministry of Education, who is also part of the board of Petroleum, so that a person should not hear that we have oil and gas in Namibia only when you are at university. A child in kindergarten must know how to sing a song about resources that are in Namibia. You train them young. That is what we are hoping to achieve. And with now this being evident, it is now on the ground, I think we are getting the traction of everybody agreeing that, okay, yeah, every textbook now have a section on not just on diamond, but also add oil and gas there. Yeah. In terms of the agency, health, safety, and measures to mitigate the issues of impact of our activities to, for example, infrastructures, people's home, that element is catered for under the process of the EIA. If a vibrosizer passes, have drawn a line closer to a homestead, and an EIA was approved, there are only two things that you can that can be guaranteed. Either that house was not there when the EIA was being approved, or there was not factual information given in the EIA. That's why that house is too close to the line. So there are limits, there are international standards and limits of where do you place the line for acquiring seismic so that you don't have an impact to establishment and people's homes. And there's also mechanism to say, if you are acquiring seismic in a city, in a crowded city, in a town like Nkurenkuru, what type of equipment must you use? So those requirements are there, and they get taken care of during the environmental impact assessment process. There was also a question of whether we are now speaking in alignment, is the policy speaking in alignment with the environment and biodiversity. I wanted to bring to the attention that the policy itself as we have it is not a standalone document. It works already in line with the existing documents that are regulating the industry. The first one, as I said, is the Petroleum Exploration and Production Act, which give a link to the Environmental Management Act of 2017, and with these two documents, there has been already an alignment in terms of the protection of the environment and the biodiversity, and the pristine environment of Namibia as we have it. It's one of our most sought after commodity, tourism. So we don't do anything to jeopardize it. So we protect and we drive these industries in parallel. And that's how, where then the issues of environmental impact assessment are mandatory. Before anybody does anything on the ground, that box must be ticked. And there's also an alignment already that we have, even within the policy itself, to the Sustainable Development Goals. To mention a few, the policy is in alignment and is speaking specifically of SDG 1, 8, 10, and 11. We have catered for them within the policy, and if there's any that you feel that we have not included, please, the inputs are welcome, and we'll accommodate them and we'll incorporate them as such. A request was coming that perhaps there must be a regional quota allocation, that if a project is in Hangwena region or in Kavango West region, then 45% of the tenders must go to the region. There's a danger in putting that in the law, because if the region is found not to have the capability of providing those of that 45, we will all be in non-compliance. But usually, when capability is available, there is no way a tenderer who is tendering to provide catering service coming from Kunene region with the transport and logistic required to transport the equipment can be cheaper than a caterer who is coming from Kavango West region. I doubt. So efficiency, because of proximity to the project, will put you ahead. But what we also observe as lacking is that we need to do more awareness in terms of how to tender for the oil industry and how to position ourselves so that you are competitive enough. To say, what is competitive in an industry? So we need, I think, to expand our awareness also so that we can give that education in terms of how do people position themselves? How do you sell yourself as an incumbent within the region? How can Recon Africa knows that your service is this, so that it comes, when the scoring comes, you will be up because you'll be more efficient. It's more efficient for them to source here because you are efficient. But we need to give that guidance in terms of how best can people then prepare them for that. In also, Mbundu, there's one question that I will not touch, it's yours. Exploration on land, why is it cheaper? And there's a call for the region to be part of the evaluation committees for the bid. I think we will also make a consideration and assess the pros and cons of having that approach. But as much transparency as possible is what we need. As long as we don't, usually transparency can also be a breeding ground for bureaucracy and inefficiency. So we must balance those elements and ensure, therefore, that when somebody is added to the evaluation committee of a certain company that's working in a certain area, are you adding value or are you hamstringing the operation simply because there's no alignment with the project timelines? There was also a call to give a report on perhaps what are the services that are out there. I had an image, I think I'll come back later to give just a list of what are the possible oil and gas services that come. But before I come to that point, the relationship between the institutions, the Petroleum Affairs Directorate, and now moved to become the Upstream Petroleum Unit, is responsible for regulating the industry. It's responsible for licensing. It's responsible for monitoring the work of the license holders, and generally we are the regulators. Now, NAMCOR, on the other hand, NAMCOR is a government arm to participate in